Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. I hope everybody's ready to go. I think we have lots to do today. Again, a reminder of these little gadgets. If you got it, just make sure it won't make a lot of noise. I guess that's the bottom. Yep, it's off. Thank you. Okay. I think you received, I know I did, a printout of a bit of a summary here of where we finished up Wednesday at 4 o'clock. And Kathy, you got this out very quickly to us. That was very much appreciated. You want to just comment on that sheet? I'm sure that most of my council members didn't bring it with them. I don't know if you have it on the screen. Not a lot of great progress, but a lot of work getting where we are, but maybe not as much progress as we'd like. Do you want to just comment on this, please? Summarize it for us, and then we'll move on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Cindy's going to try and get the spreadsheet up on the
okay. Thank you.
on
Appreciate
the screens for council also. Yesterday, over the last 2 days, we've reduced the budget by approximately $348,000 for a total of $80,859,400 million. Sorry, $80,859,400. Wouldn't that have been nice? Yes, my apologies. For a 5.2 increase, which equals to, I believe it was a 3.5% tax rate increase. What I'd like to bring to council's attention, you may have thought that we had reduced the budget slightly a little more than that.
I did.
I just wanted to let you know. Council removed the secondary plan for $50,000. However, we have offsetting funding from the Development Charges Reserve Fund by $45,000.
Yeah.
We can fund that from development charges, 90% of the cost from the Development Charge Reserve Fund. So we didn't take that into consideration yesterday, so I've made the adjustment.
That's where it is. Okay, I was going to ask that question. You've answered it. So I think rather than spend too much time on this, we just forge ahead. I had one housekeeping item to do, which I should have done before I talked to Kathy there, not that it's her fault, but I've had a request that if this council would consider a week Tuesday, which is February the 7th, which is our committee of council, if there's any chance we could begin that meeting at 1 o'clock, and from 1 to 3, we would be able to go over, I believe it's applications for the county manager. Candy, where are you? Is Candy here? No, she's not here.
I believe it's a review of the benchmarking from the county manager recruitment committee. So the county manager recruitment committee will review it all on the 2nd and provide a benchmarking, and then council and committee would review that work on the 7th. It's
time we would spend working on the hiring process, interview process. Could I have a show at this time rather than have the clerk send out of those that would be in favor of coming on the 7th at 1 o'clock? It looks like we have enough for a quorum, and again, we don't have to finalize it today, but we'll give that direction to Candy and yourself. And if we have to, people discover they can't do it and we don't get enough, then we will reschedule. Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Height, I know that you had wanted to speak. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Luke. I'd like to move a motion that we go into closed session to discuss personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees.
So this is an in-camera. This item would relate to our budget deliberations.
Closed session, actually.
Pardon?
Closed session.
Closed session, but it would...
Not in camera.
Yeah, sorry, a closed session is fine. I know what you meant. Yeah. But it would relate to these budget deliberations?
Absolutely.
Okay. I do have a motion. Discussion on going into in-camera. And again, whether we do or we don't will be up to the majority of this council. Okay, there's no discussion. Those in favor?
With this one, we should also have a second.
Oh, why do you say that? When we have agreed back last Tuesday to only proceed with a motion, why do you want a seconder?
Just because it's closed session usage, it's better to be more formal with going into closed session.
Who would like to second that motion? Councillor Broughton, all in favor? I'm not going to fight with you, that's carried. Let's move to closed session. It has been moved by Councillor Columbus, seconded by Councillor Geisen, that council does now adjourn at 9:22 a.m. This closed meeting and reconvene in open session and discussion or comment on this motion. If not, those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We have met in a closed session, and I have nothing to report at this time from that session. Okay, we have that and that done. So I think we're ready to get back to work, and I know when I left on Wednesday afternoon, my page was left open at 4-69, which we were working on tourism and economic development. So we will start there, and I'll give you just kind of a minute to kind of rethink where we were. If there's anything else on here you have questions for. Councillor Brunton, please.
Well, I can't remember exactly where we left off within this, or did we do any of it?
Yeah, we had some motions concerning the $50,000 secondary, downtown secondary, the $50,000 redevelopment downtown. I believe there was, help me here, Chris, but there was just prior to that 8,700 in materials and supplies, but I think it was a previous division, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's what we've done basically is those two programs.
Okay.
Deferring one and not supporting the other at this time.
Okay, could I ask to bring up materials and supplies?
Okay, we'll let staff bring that up.
Or is that up there? No, sorry.
There it is.
Quite a difference in 17,000 budgeted, almost 40,000 in meeting expenses. Who can explain that before?
Well, it'll be a staff member, so I'll ask for a response.
Chris, I guess it's Chris, or I guess who are we at? Clark here? One of you can answer that.
One of them will. Yep.
Substantially from 17,000 to 40,000. That's a big increase from last year. And now I realize you're asking for what 21.6 it says, but it's a big change.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Brunton. Last year in 2016, we initiated a couple of pilot projects around youth engagement. So Rethink Norfolk was one of the initiatives. Student Startup was a number of the initiatives. So those were new pilots that we piloted with the help of the private sector. So much of the expenses that were over budget in those lines last year were recovered in revenue lines in the lower parts of your page.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yep.
so that's why the number's higher. Now, the reason why our request for 2017 isn't, up in that neck of the woods or that high is because in error, the youth engagement program was put into Mr. Baird's budget. So his materials and supply lines and those things were upped. So that's kind of the disconnect that's happening. So in a nutshell, the programs that are being initiated in those budgets are cost recovered or slightly, very little more expense on them. But in most part, corporate sponsors come on board, and those revenues are reflected in the revenues budget.
Okay, yeah, and you know something, Clark? I think you covered that the other day, so I apologize for that. I will go on to my next, advertising and promotion and the contracted service. Well, I guess we'll start with advertising and promotion. That's 205,000. What is the bulk of that expense? How many brochures do you print, or do you have any left from last year they can reuse, or everything brand new in there that's got to be used for promotion and advertising, I guess?
Through the Mayor to Councillor Brunton, the advertising and promotional budgets cover all sectors of the economy that we help. So agriculture, tourism, investment attraction. It's the entire, all the sectors. It's not just tourism. It includes, yes, printed materials. It includes contracted services related to distributing printed materials, because printed materials are useless sitting on a shelf. They need to be out in the market working for us, and that's expensive, and so it's reflected in the budget. It also includes area profile signage that you see when you come into the county. We pay the province annual fees to keep those signs up there, otherwise they would come down. It includes website maintenance. It includes social media advertising, online advertising, Weather Network advertising, TripAdvisor advertising. It involves other types of online advertising related to investment attraction and agriculture and local food. So in many cases, we do have materials and supplies that do carry over from year to year. The Investor's Guide, for example, was produced last year and will continue to be used until it's depleted this year, at which point we'll either reprint it or we'll correct it, or maybe there'll be some slight changes to it. So all of the advertising and promotional items are basically at the same level of funding as they were in previous years, apart from additional amounts that are put in there to augment things like the Student Startup Program or the Rethink Norfolk, or some other pilot programs like the Farm to Fork program, which we hope to do this year with Fanshawe College, as well as the new Ontario Food Cluster membership that we're getting involved with, which was a initiative that the Program Review Committee of Norfolk County Council requested that we work more in agriculture. So basically the advertising and promotional budget lines encompass a broad multi-sector promotion of Norfolk County. We are the promotional division of Norfolk County, so it makes sense that our promotional budget would be high. In compared to other communities, it is on par. We do not have correspondingly more funds than most other communities. We're compared to, say, Haldimand or Elgin or other communities, we're basically spending similar amounts of money. You need to do that to compete in this economy and make people aware of our community.
Are there some revenues that come out of that? I mean, direct revenues that are applied later on?
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, yes, I should have mentioned that. Yes, down in the revenue section, the partner program that was referenced on Wednesday helps to recover costs from the marketing and promotional budgets, as well as advertising that is sold in our publications. There are other opportunities for partners to get involved to help offset costs. For example, an insert in the Globe and Mail a couple of years ago, we had one of our partners put an advertisement in it to help offset the costs. So wherever possible, we attempt to offset costs in our programs.
Can I ask you this question, Clark? I see you spent I'm going to say $185,000 in 2016. That's your projected. I guess you were asking for 205. If we cut $20,000 out of there, that would leave you with the same funding as you had last year anticipated. Could you live with that?
Through the mayor, not having the entire budget in front of me, I don't know what exactly we would cut out of there, but it's up to council to decide what you want to do.
Well, you're operating with the same amount of money you've had in the past year, $185,000.
Through Mr. Mayor, the budget that was in 2016 is there are different aspects to it, so I would need to go back through it and check and see what it was that we would need to cut, if that's what you want to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Oliver.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Clark, I'm looking at page 4-69, which we all are, and I'm sure you can understand what we tend to do sometimes as council is look at that second last line at the bottom of the page, which is the net levy requirement line, and when we see one that shows a 26.8% increase, it tends to hit us over the head. But my question to you is, I'm looking, when I was in the main budget drivers, the text page that supports this, I just want you to verify for me that I'm correct. Things that are in this budget and therefore that require levy that weren't in this budget last year, $100,000 for the community improvement plan projects. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
$50,000 for new gateway signage that was not in the budget last year.
That's correct.
Correct? $50,000 for the downtown revitalization initiatives line, which we've already taken out, I think, but it was in that budget, correct?
That is correct. When you remove most of those items, we're at a 0%.
Absolutely. Mr. Mayor, we've got $222,000 increase in the levy in this budget. $200,000 of it are 3 items, new initiatives. So if you look at it that way, Mr. Mayor, this budget is essentially flatlined already. Other than those new initiatives, which I believe this council has already approved, except for the $50,000 downtown revitalization initiative, which we took out on Wednesday. That's really all I can say on this. I think you're asking our staff to cut back from where they were last year if you don't acknowledge those things as new one-time only initiatives.
Councillor Wells?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, through you, I'd like permission to ask the county manager a question.
Absolutely.
Mr. County Manager, and not being disrespectful, we have received this budget and we are looking at it, basically, we've had it for a week. Let's just say that. Staff have had this budget for several months. Would that be a fair statement? And you have lived it, you have dealt with it, you have gone through it. So when I hear comments being made that, you know, this is not in the budget, we haven't included that, how could that possibly be? That, is there something I am missing here?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe, if I'm understanding correctly, what didn't get in the 2016 budget was the community improvement program, and I guess ultimately that distorted, I think, the Development of Cultural Services numbers. So, for example, if I have a round figure, I think $173,000 in mind. If you back that out of their projected actuals, you know, they would have come in somewhere around $4,401,000 versus a budget of $4,410,000. And of course, when you put the actually, I guess no one expected the uptake in that program to surge so dramatically past previous year's experience, because that community improvement program had been in place for years, but of course there was a significant rejigging and revitalization of that program and a huge uptake from the community. And you know, ultimately that has to get reflected in the 2017 budget, notwithstanding it didn't get reflected in the 2016 budget. So, you know, Councillor, I think your point's a good one, because probably what we should have done is before the end of 2016, we should have come to Council and said, here's the terrific experience and great results we've had from the community improvement program. We need you to approve a budget amendment, and we need to pull this money from the contingency reserve for 2016, and then we would have had 2016 budget figures that would have been stated properly, and we would have been able to show 2017. And so I think in terms of best practice, we probably should have sorted that out sometime in 2016, rather than rolling it in and trying to capture and account for it and demonstrate it in the 2017 budget documents, which has created a great deal of confusion. So I do apologize for that, and you know, it is certainly there was a tremendous uptake in that, and perhaps we should have done the sorting out and restating everything in 2016 budget year.
Thank you very much, County Manager, for that. And Mr. Mayor, all I can say is, we as a councillor and you as the mayor can only deal with the information that we are provided with. And if that information is flawed, it is not that we are flawed, it is that we are dealing with flawed information. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree, and I do sincerely apologize, Councillor Wells. We should, as good practice, it should have been, perhaps we should have, found some way of addressing that in 2016.
I have two speakers, Columbus and Brunton, but I do have a question on this item. Councillor Columbus, is yours relating to the community improvement program?
Yes.
Then fire away, please, and I'll
Yes,
wait for
Councillor
my
Oliver
turn.
did ask my questions of Mr. Hoskin, but I want to know still on page 469 where the community improvement dollars are on that page.
Mr. Hoskin, which line item includes the community improvement expenditures?
It must be a large number, so
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Columbus, under transfer payments grants, you'll see in the 2017 adjusted budget column an amount of $94,500. That's the, and then moving over into the 2017 proposed budget, it says 144.5. So that's where the community improvement plan would be located.
Okay.
You'll also notice that under financial, the line just below it, there are numbers reflected in there that relate to ongoing costs related to the program. So that's also reflected in there as well.
So you're looking for greater uptake in 2017 on the CIP program versus 2016? What do you think?
To Councillor Columbus, it's been an exploration from the beginning because our past experience was not much uptake. So when we saw good uptake happening, we didn't want to discourage it, and it was good to see. It's hard to say. I guess a big construction year happened, a lot of interest and confidence among businesses, which is a good sign that they want to do this type of work. It's possible that we've hit like a big blip and maybe things will kind of even off. I'm not sure exactly. It's really hard to tell. And the other thing is because the program is very much geared towards making it as accessible as possible for a business and doesn't hold them up in any way, in the sense that it's not expecting them to apply on one date a year or hold up their plans for a year waiting for another deadline to pass. We do it on a rolling basis. It makes it easier for them to participate, and they're finding that refreshing and often thinking, wow, the county's actually responding to the way we want to do business. So we don't want to discourage that. It's really giving the county a really good reputation. So I'm hoping that things will be as high, but we still want to encourage people to participate.
Thank you for your answer.
Councillor Brunton, is your comments on the community improvement?
Yes, and it relates to this 469, and I guess I'm confused, Your Worship. So.
Go ahead.
Well, in respect to what Councillor Oliver said, can somebody tell me, and I apologize for Wednesday, Wednesday's long gone from my memory, what is that 26.8% at now then? What was it at after Wednesday if we've removed all this stuff? What is the bottom line? I'm still looking at a net levy on this page of 26.8, or is it quite a bit less?
Well, I can partially answer that, and I know that Kathy is nearby, but you'll recall Wednesday when I subtracted the one that was deferred at 50 and one that was not supported at 50, I said that would bring that figure down to 20.8, and I shouldn't have done that because Kathy has reminded us that 45,000 of the 150 also has to be offset with the reserves where it was coming from and put into the revenue. So my guess is that 26.6 is decreased a very small amount, probably $5,000. I don't think there are any other cuts, according to my record, other than the two $50,000 items on this page. Go ahead, if you can answer that.
On this point, Mr. Mayor, when I was making my emotional comments a couple of minutes ago, I recall and I didn't support it, but I recall council removed the $50,000 for downtown revitalization initiatives, or deferred. Thank you, that's better. And that's a line item in here. So I think we have reduced that 222,200 so far by $50,000.
Kathy, sorry to interrupt, but Kathy,
Through the mayor to Councillor Oliver, he's quite correct. When we were referring to the Simcoe secondary plan, that was within the
That's in the
community planning
section,
division.
not here.
okay.
Okay,
So if I may,
Yeah.
the question Councillor Brunton had, that 26.8 on the budget percentage increase? The reason I'm asking is I put a line through it. I know it's 26 point something that we got. There it is. Question is, on the 26.8, thank you, staff, is that reduced by very much, and if so, how much? I think that's his question.
Through the mayor, I believe the cost center has now been reduced by 50,000, so it would bring it down to a total 20.8% increase for tourism and economic development. If you look at the column called 2007 adjusted budget, 2017 adjusted budget, increase, decrease, it shows 20.8%, and that's not including the 50,000 that has been removed.
Well, that's the figure I had, down to 20.8.
Okay, Your Worship, I guess what, I look at the downtown revitalization, the secondary plan, all those issues, they're new in my opinion, so they don't show on this page, and that's why I'm asking. So you're saying we're at 20.8%. So I'm going to make a motion, Your Worship, if I may.
You can put a motion on the floor.
And I'm sure, Clark, you won't like this, but I see you spent $185,000 in advertising and promotion last year, and I'm asking you to try and do the same this year instead of $205,000. So that is, in my opinion, a $20,000 cut in advertising and promotion, and I don't think that's asking too much. So instead of 205, I'm asking you to hold the line at 185, as per last year.
Okay.
That's a motion.
I really wanted to finish up the community improvement thing, but since you put the motion on and I've let you, because I'm a good guy, we'll deal with that. And then I have a question on the community improvement, and I also know that Councillor Oliver has a comment. So because we have put the motion on the floor, let's deal with it. I will ask for discussion on the motion, which is to reduce by $20,000 this advertising promotional line. Discussion. Those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. And those opposed? And that would be carried. I'll be right with you, well, go ahead, Councillor Oliver. I can do two things, listen and write. Well, then you take your time, but I'm going to give you the floor, and then I have a question. Go ahead. Oops, sorry, your microphone, and apologize.
No, that's my fault. I recall that we did get a report, I believe, from the planning community, you know who I mean, Chris's department, regarding the CIP last year, that it was upwards of 170,000 plus in grants and or grants, I think, that were committed to in 2016. In other words, it was a very, very successful year, and yet it really hadn't been budgeted anywhere, and that's been the dilemma that's caused this blip in the 22.8% increase, 26.8. So, Mr. Mayor, I think that's essentially my question or comment is, where did this money get taken from in 2016 such that we never really...
Mr. County Manager, would you like to respond?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as I mentioned, I mean, at budget time last year, when the revitalization of the community improvement program was discussed, there was tacit agreement to let it go, see what the uptake was. We certainly had thought that, you know, the one option was to come back at some point and draw those funds from the contingency reserve. Ultimately, you know, in any budget year, across the many, many lines of business Norfolk County is in, there are favorable and unfavorable budget variances in the budget. So certainly until we get the 2016 year end done, My hope is that it would be offset by favorable variances elsewhere. If it's not, then I would anticipate that one source of making that variance up would have been to draw it from the contingency reserve and ask council to do that. So ultimately, as I mentioned to when Councillor Wells asked the question, I'm feeling now that, given it was certainly, I think, a great thing and leveraged substantial private sector investment in those properties that received those grants, it would have been probably better just not to kind of leave it and when we finished closing off 2016 and reviewing all the variances, assuming it was going to get covered off or offset by favorable variances elsewhere, probably should have just brought a report to council and say, this, it was the first year of this revitalization program. There was tremendous uptake. It's leveraged substantial investment by the private sector, and we'd like to draw these funds from the contingency reserve to offset the unbudgeted expense in 2016. But so again, I do apologize to council for the confusion created, but I think ultimately it was a pretty good news story, Councillor Oliver, and I think you probably agree with that.
Yeah, I certainly do, Mr. Mayor. I was just trying to get my head around where the actual sort of grant applications as they came in over the course of the year, where they would have been, quote, journal entry to. And I think I'm satisfied with the answer. Thank you.
Question, thank you, Councillor Oliver, that I have for Mr. Baird. I am told that the transfer of payments and grants line, which the proposed budget is 144.5, that is the line where the community improvement program money comes out of, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
How much, Mr. Baird, of the 144.5 will go to that program? Is it that full amount or is it part of?
Okay, let's get that mouse. Okay, just thanks for your patience here. Let me just drill in here. Okay, so what's been proposed for 2017 is 144,500. That has been reduced already by 50,000, which is the downtown revitalization project. So it stands at what is that, 94.5, and that 94,500 is all for the community improvement.
Thank you.
plan.
That's I couldn't remember if the balance of that was. So I would like to make a comment on this. I know this year that once in this room, and I believe it was under other business, one of our council members asked, how much are we spending on this program? And I can't remember who it was. It wasn't me. I've asked it, but not in this room, that question, because it's been asked of me. We were told this year that there was a mistake made, and everybody in this room has made mistakes. Boy, I've made a few, that there was no budget set for 2016. Notwithstanding the great benefits we have seen from this program, I am rather surprised that we feel we have an item that hasn't been budgeted, and there doesn't seem to be anybody concerned, staff or council, that it isn't open-ended, that you can just continue. So I hope whatever we leave at this point, it's 94.5 for 2017, that when it hits 94.5 or whatever budget this council strikes out, that not one penny more when the fund is depleted and the budget is fulfilled. I speak for myself, I don't want to see 1 cent over. You'll have to wait for next year, similar to our grants to organizations and agency. So my question now to this council is, we know that it's 94.5. I'm hoping that this will not go over budget. I'm being polite. I'm not upset, but I'm concerned that do we wish to leave it at 94.5? And I can talk all day about the wonderful things I've seen in this program. Yes, indeed. But good things cost money. Do you wish to reduce that figure? If you don't, we'll move on from this item. Councillor Geisens.
Left, that was one of the things that we didn't get to, but I had it written down here that there has to be a cap. In other words, whether it's 94 or 96 or 100 or whatever it is, And when, I agree with what you just said, that not a penny more. So theoretically, I'll make that a motion that we now not go beyond, what were you talking about, 94?
94.5?
94,500.
This isn't the only, this isn't the only part of the budget that should be following that similar rules. I understand. I've been in
100%
control of
correct.
budgets in my life, and I know that there are things that come up that have to be done, whether there's money in the budget or not. Are you making that a motion?
I am.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor. Any discussion to that of making sure this is capped 94.5? Did I, Councillor Height and then Columbus?
Thank you, Mayor Luca. My memory's not that clear for when we did put that in, but I did think that we put a stop loss in on that way back when we approved it the first time. It was
Personally, I don't remember it. You could be correct, but I don't
100 grand
remember
or
it.
something
But I
like
remember it being questioned.
okay.
Okay, Councillor Height, then Councillor Columbus, and then Oliver.
Yes, to Clark, are there any unfinished CIP projects that were approved in 2016 that still have to float into the 2017 year to be paid? Like, is there like $20,000, $30,000 owing from those projects that still have to be paid out that would affect the 94.5 and reduce it perhaps to even 60 or 70,000?
Through the mayor to Councillor Columbus, yes, we do have applications on the table that are now sitting there waiting for council budget approval, and then once that happens, we'll be looking at them again. So there isn't anything that has been committed to past what we've already talked about. You have to remember too that some of these programs are loan programs, so they're interest-free loan programs, so some of the money will be returning, and they are over a period of years. They're not just in 1 year. So the program is a very sophisticated, complex program, and we're going to try our best to make sure that it doesn't, well, we're not going to make sure, we're going to ensure that it doesn't go over budget as requested for this year, and try to make it work for the businesses.
Councillor Oliver?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I did want to go back to Councillor Height's question about